Come on, bienvenue. Welcome once again to another Cladding Matters. It's the final property show of the week. And this is called Truth, Blame, and the Pressure to Stay Quiet. And to start us off, as ever, Hamish McClay.
Well, very happy May Day to everybody. It's a great day for celebrating, doing your pole dancing or to maypole if you're into that kind of thing. Sadly, we have a really appalling subject to discuss today, which is the way that certain people behave. Reading a book, or meant to be reading a book, I haven't got around to reading it, by Dr. David Hawkins, called Truth versus Falsehood and How to Tell the Difference. And what we do have is a considerable amount of obfuscation. And now, whether the Labour Party or politicians generally are taught by the same tutor that suggests this is the way to actually, although it's a lie, you ignore the lie and blame somebody who is actually sort of trying to tell the truth. And this is what's sort of happened today. I better not go on because I'll get carried away. I'll do that at the end. We've got this afternoon Ben, who suffered significantly from some appalling direct harassment and goodness knows sort of what else through buying a property which was, if I put it subtly, was falling apart, but nobody wants to accept any responsibility for the rubbish build in the first place. And then we've got Steve stuck in a place that basically is unsafe if you look at it from a moral aspect as well as a physical aspect. There's dangers of fire and goodness knows sort of what else. And a council which is lying about the particular aspect of it to the extent that something's going to be blatantly obvious. And before we go sort of any further, perhaps Gav can just bring up this one particular sort of picture which outlines this particular council, Greenwich Council, have stated that there was nothing wrong with this property when it was built. There was no building regulation distortion or anything of that particular nature. What you can actually sort of see, it's on the right hand of my screen, you can see on the outline plan where the fire doors are presented, where they should have been built. You can actually sort of see the very open door where that person is standing. There is no fire door now. If there's nothing wrong with that, okay, carry on, councillors, and try and apportion blame on somebody and accuse them all sorts of different things.
Horrendous things.
So they obscure the fact that what you've told is an outright lie, and the other aspect, the building was unsafe when it was built.
Okay, well, look, before anything else, I need to bring your attention to Ben Jenkins. Ben, thank you very much for joining the show today. Thank you for your time. Can you tell me something of your experience, sir?
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. Can I just throw the baton over to you? Can you tell me?
Yeah, and I'd like to start out, saying... Yeah, I'd like to say, you said at the beginning that I've suffered, and I have suffered, I suppose. But one thing that became abundantly clear to me is I've not suffered as much as other people. Although I have played every step of the way. So when they've done this, I've continued and gone, and where's the evidence? Where's this? I'm called it out. Many people will suffer in silence, and they will give in to the legal bullying that takes place, and the legal threat, just the mere threat of legal costs will have most people scamper away and remove everything. In fact, it was my lawyer who said, you need to stop down, you need to leave this alone, you can't do this, because they're going to come at you through courts. And because they did, but most people, and the catchphrase is vexatious. They will use vexatious, and that is a term that is coined across the sector. And as soon as someone else in the know, okay, and that puts all blame on the resident. And that's certainly what's happened in my case, but not just my case. It's happening up and down the country from multiple providers.
Well, look, I'm going to bring Steve Day straight on to talk very briefly. Steve, this is ridiculous. I mean, particularly the kind of pressure you're under now.
Yeah, I mean, it's really escalated, unfortunately. So, I mean, I'm just conscious of Ben's time, but I can do a very brief summary and then we'll go back to Ben. But effectively, as you well know, the council released a statement a year ago last May. So it's a year ago this month, saying there's no evidence that any of our reports that they were sitting on at the time show unlawful construction at the time of build, including missing fire, as you saw in that screenshot that Hamish shown. And so what's happened this week is Stephanie Barwise, the leading Grenfell inquiry lawyer that represented the victims, 72 dead, and their families of them, and has gone through all our evidence and has agreed with us that yes, it does show unlawful construction, and the council is wrong. So if we could show that image, the black background, the poster of basically Stephanie and the councillor.
Okay, I'll find that one for you. Are we talking about this one? So sorry, guys.
Well, it's got a black background. And,
I'm just picking it up. I think we've lost Rob, unfortunately.
Yeah, he may come back to us.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Perfect. All right. So if I just show that to you there.
Yeah. Right. So you can see at the top, Councillor Taggart Ryan. She's on the council cabinet for housing, and she was the decision maker to decide that and her quote is, there was no evidence to suggest that the works in breach of building regulations applicable at the time of construction. It's just
can I make this absolutely plain? In no way are you pointing fingers at a person. You're pointing fingers at the council
and the decision. And the decision it isn't personal.
It's not about the person at all.
No. And then and also I've, as you'll find out shortly, I've been accused of inciting violence against women by 2 councillors, which I will show you evidence of in that picture. But if you could go back to it, Gareth, let's check the Stephanie Barwise view. Now, she is the leading Grenfell inquiry KC.
Straight back to that. There we go.
Right. So she says, Royal Borough of Greenwich's cannot claim mistake in relation to its patently incorrect stance that there is no evidence supporting any breach of building regulations at the time of construction at Royal Artillery Quays. That is a position they can and should correct immediately, because lives are at risk, because the dangerous defects are so dangerous that the reports recommend prosecutions in the event of a fire. They are that dangerous. The council says those reports don't exist. It's not that they disagree with the reports. They don't exist at all, including from the council itself. Anyway, so we ran a campaign, as you well know, and as we have on here, for a year. And now let's have a look at just how dirty this gets. So firstly, they've accused me of that image of Rachel Taggart Ryan, that it was AI.
Right.
And if you could go to that Google search of...
yes, I can. I've got that right here.
Right. It's not. It's the middle image highlighted there. It was cropped just to take the sort of text off, but it is that image that I used. It is not deep fake AI, so that is completely ludicrous. Now, I did use AI for the text of the poster, but the 2 images of the 2 women were not created by AI. So that's the first thing they're chucking at me. But let's have a look at what else they're chucking at me. So if you can go to the WhatsApp message.
The single WhatsApp message, is that this one here?
Yeah, let's have a look at this one. So this is Labour Councillor Jardia Spencer, right? She represents West Thamesmead and actually ousted me as the Lib Dem candidate in the election last December. She says, in result of that poster, I want to be very clear about the wider issue here. Women already face a constant stream of abuse online, much of it personal, targeted and escalating, and into real-world threats. Sharing and circulating images like this only fuels that environment. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. It adds to a culture that too often normalizes hostility towards women and can put their safety at risk. Seeing this is generally upsetting because it doesn't. She's pasting this all over 2 big West Thamesmead groups with hundreds of people in my actual area seeing all this and are disgusted about what I'm doing. Now, that is not the only thing. So if we go to the email from Councillor Pat Slattery, and these are councillors, they carry weight.
I'll see what I've got, because I'm afraid we didn't have enough time to put them in the correct order.
Oh yeah, just iterate through. Keep going.
Is that sorry, go to
yeah, keep going. Yeah, right. So you see at the bottom, Pat Slattery, a cabinet member of Labour Council, saying, Mr. Day should be ashamed of yourselves. So it's to my neighbour as well. Should be ashamed of yourselves for giving succor to those in public discourse who create this culture. And that's the culture of abuse. And
And if you see in the sentence before, do you know how much abuse women in elected positions receive? Some of an extremely violent nature. And she's then linking it with Mr. Day should be ashamed of himself for giving succor to those in public discourse who create this culture of violence against women. I will charitably assume, and blah, blah, blah. And then she ends as if, you know, my neighbour who wrote this is basically threatening violence against her. I will not be remotely cowed by your unpleasant tactics. And we don't know how that's been forwarded, how many people that's been forwarded to. I will lose my job if that gets to my boss, you know. And that's why I'm doing this, because I want him to know and everyone to know that I reject this accusation that I'm promoting violence towards any councillor. And for the record, I want to say that all this has ever been about is asking for the 8 dangerous buildings in Royal Artillery Quays to have a full remediation. And the council has said our evidence that we need desperately in a court case to get all the materials removed doesn't exist. And now I'm being accused of harassment by the head of legal. I'm being accused of encouraging of violence against women by 2 female councillors, putting it everywhere, wrecking my reputation. It's all unfounded. It's all false. And let's have a look at what one of the councillors responded. So you could go back to those images. Keep going. Oh no, yeah, like keep going.
That's the last one.
Yeah, we could do that last. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going. Right, there. This. Okay. Right. So one of my neighbours wrote in, Sue, and she basically said it's disgusting that your councillors are writing this about me and a neighbour. And then we got this reply from an independent councillor who I think this is Councillor Anne-Marie Cousins. This is in the image in the middle. And you can see that she wants us to know that she's not happy with it. She says, thank you for sight of the latest communication on this subject. It is sad to see that despite the passage of time, that's a year, and media coverage, that this struggle persists with the council trying to get the stuff that they're denying undenied. I can only hope that the necessary communications can be resolved so that the necessary fire safety remedial work can be carried out. So you see, even the independent councillors are disgusted by this council. And then let's just do the last image because I'm conscious of Ben's time. So what happened was Stephanie Barway's Grenfell inquiry case, he went through the constitution of the council. And if you could go to the image, Gareth, I think you're on the image.
Which image is that?
Keep going, let's go through it. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, there you go. This is a quote from Stephanie Barway, the leading Grenfell inquiry representing the 72 deaths. The optics of a council not acting in accordance with its own constitution by not being transparent, and that's required by the constitution, and not taking into account potentially life-threatening building safety issues seriously are troubling and raise uncomfortable questions as to the council's motivation for taking what appears to be a perverse stance and refusing to explain it or withdraw it for over a year. And then underneath there, you've got the constitution of the council, which basically says that they need to explain every decision, especially ones that affect the life safety of 1,000 people. None of that's happened. And I'm being put at risk of serious reputational risk just for being as residence chair of 1,000 people, just for trying to represent them, because our buildings are illegally constructed. And although the council are sitting on that evidence, they are threatening my career, my livelihood, my reputation as a man in Greenwich, making my life unsafe. It's perverse, and I think it's disgusting, and I want this fully withdrawn by the council. Anyway, that's it.
Well,
thanks. I'm pretty angry.
It does appear to be perverse. Nothing you've done has been personal. It's only about building safety.
Yes.
It's only about living within a place which is a factory of pyre. Ben, before we close down for today, I realise that you are on a timer. Would you have some words to say? Ben?
Yeah, I would. Unfortunately, the audio wasn't so great, so I cut out a little bit there. I didn't catch everything that Steve was saying. But this is an absolute playbook in the affidavit that was sent to the court. they accused me of door stopping a CEO, a female CEO, and something that had never happened and I'd never advertised. The junior female members of the team, he's particularly upsetting and creepy, disturbing to female junior members of the team. When I asked for the evidence, it wasn't there. When I did a subject access request, they still weren't able to find it, and then they have to remove it when they say it. But going to third parties is something that they need to be very careful of. If you have a duty of care, it might be okay for me to go to a third party to warn of a particular behavior. But if I send that out to multiple people without having safeguarding issues to justify that, that in itself becomes unlawful. And that's something that you might be able to take them for, Steve. The fact that they've shared information about you beyond what is reasonable.
Right. Well, I think I need to pass back to Hamish because temper's fugit. Hamish, would you give a sum up, please, from your perspective?
I think what has actually been demonstrated this afternoon quite clearly, there is truth and there is falsehood, and we live in a society, and we're speaking about this one particular councillor Steve has experienced these challenges with. Ben has been subjected to almost identical types of accusations and perverse decisions by different people. Now, who are they trying to protect? Who in earth are they trying to protect in all of this? Are they trying? Those councillors are going to. I mean, if that place went up in smoke, as Stephanie Barwood actually sort of states quite clearly, they are not taking course, and they're making these decisions. Not one of those councillors has come and looked to see if there are fire doors where there should be fire doors. How on earth? None of them are qualified to make these bloody decisions either. What the hell gets into them to actually be able to come out with these barefaced lies about not just the situation itself, but about the personality, the character of an individual who actually wants to draw the council's attention to something which they are doing, which is beyond the law. And all of this, are they trying to save face before these elections? I suggest people go out there and actually vote for members who are going to look after their residents. And we know we've had 3 of them, 4, and of course we've got a council leader there who basically is supporting all of these people. Are they speaking on his behalf? One never knows. But good heavens, go out and make a different decision, people. Those people in sort of Greenwich, I mean, in Ben's case, it was through so many different sort of courts and goodness knows sort of. But the challenge is they are there, and we do need to bring these to light so people like Ben and his family and Steve and his family are not subjected to this kind of mistreatment by those who supposedly are in a position of authority. Would you want them representing you?
I think that people need to use their critical thinking and use only their knowledge about whether councillors have a history of representing them or representing their own interests. And I think that's what they need to look at very carefully. Thank you so much for taking the time out, Ben. I realize you're on a timer. Thank you, Steve, for bringing up and providing that evidence to show that his focus has never been personal, only about trying to ensure the safety of him and his residents and nothing more. And Hamish, thank you for setting this up in the first place. And to all of you out there, please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and in these troubling times, please look after your mental health. Until next week, goodbye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
There's a tale about some folks with hammers and some nails. They'll polish through the moon.